What it do, good people? What it do? This is your girl Simona with Lit Love Journey. So, if you are seeing my face, you know that we are at another happy hour book podcast episode. So today, it's a day, it's midday. Your girl's drinking on a little coffee, okay, getting the caffeine in. And I'm so excited because every month, if you've been following us, you know this already. But if you don't and you're new to the channel, Lit Love Journey, we are an entity that promotes, book club culture, reading lifestyles, and promotes Black books. And every time we come together, we are coming together with our reading buddy for the month. And I'm so excited, y'all, because when you think about being lit for literature, this group does it in a funky way, and that is a Black men read now book club, which I'm so excited about because this is our first time partnering with a male book club. So I want to bring up, without further ado, Raymond from Black Men Read. How are you, brother? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, we are here. It's Thursday. We almost about to close out the week strong, at least on this side, it's hot weather. It's beautiful out.
Yeah, it's hot out there. Absolutely.
And are you indulging in any type of libation you want to share with the people, or tell them about yourself while we take a sip real quick?
I just got some filtered tap water
Oh,
here.
that's right. Cheers, look.
Yeah, and it's already sweating. So you know it's hot. It's sweating out over here. But
I know it is. Look, it is hot in the DMV. We are at like what records 90, 95, 98 today.
mhm.
Really hot day. Please tell the folks about who you are and let them know about your book club.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Raymond. I am one of the book club admins for Black Men Read Book Club. Let me make sure I show my shirt. Black Men. There we
Hey.
go. And so Black Men Read Book Club was founded in 2018. Our two founders, Demetrius Frazier and Lance Adams, came together,
Mhm.
wanted to form a group to kind of figure out like what type of books they should read in response to a lot of the killings of young Black men by the police. And I remember I only got involved in 2020,
Mhm.
but there it was a very small group from my understanding prior to 2020, and then they became a Facebook chapter, which is our biggest chapter of all three of our chapters. We have a Facebook chapter, a Goodreads chapter, and
Mhm.
as of 2-3 months ago, we have a bookclubs.com chapter.
So those are three different lanes that people could tap in, right?
Yes, or you could join all three. It's all totally up to you, but it's the same content. It's just like you said, different mediums, different channels.
I love that. And so, are y'all based in a specific like locality? Let people know how that part works.
So we're mostly a virtual book club. So the when it got started, they Demetrius and his co-founder Lance, they're based in Virginia, but our members are all over. We have I'm based in Maryland. Two of our book club admins is one's in Colorado, one's in
Okay.
Ohio, uh, and then we have members East Coast, West Coast. We have one member he's kind of active in the UK, and we have a lot of brothers from the West Coast of Africa, but they haven't. I have never seen them in any of our meetings, but they are members of the club. So
I love that. I love that. Being able to connect with folks, no matter the location, it kind of makes it that much more special, I think,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and I imagine you say you started with the book club in 2020, but in terms of, biggest misnomers about book clubs, share with folks what they can expect if they were to tap into Black Man Read Book Club.
sure. So our group, we meet once a month to talk about our book of the month, and we always do a Zoom. It's a very small group, usually about no more than maybe 10 or 11 guys will come on to talk about it. Um, we have generally a good group. Everybody pretty much reads the book or they have read, half of it or three-fourths of it. most cases. We're very free flowing. People have their. I think one of our favorite things is whenever we have a book, it's always interesting to see everybody's opinions because some people
Mhm.
don't like. Sometimes people don't like the book. Sometimes they really love it. And even if you are on one of those sides, you kind of still get the you understand where the other guy's coming from, even if you may have disliked it or liked the book. So
I love that. And I feel like, to your point, not everybody's gonna like the pick of the month or
mhm.
whatnot. But when it comes to being able to just share and talk, there's so many misconceptions I think about Black men and how you all show up, how you present to the community or to your family or at work. So do you feel like the book club has helped you or others kind of break some of those stereotypes?
Absolutely. So I think probably one of the stereotypes is that we read nothing but nonfiction. Um, and I'll say when I first joined, that was sort of the case that we were fulfilling that stereotype in a way. But when we were branching out into other genres, like, various fiction genres or short stories or graphic novels, there wasn't any hesitation about reading those. So, um, and we found some lanes where, okay, we do like this kind of stuff, so let's try to read more of this, that type of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you all do more than just read books. I mean, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, in familiarizing or learning about your movement, you all interview authors. Can you talk about some of the other components of how you all show up in a community?
Sure. We from time to time we'll do author chats. Usually it will be an author, whose ever book we're reading for the month. Sometimes we'll have people special authors we want to talk to. And I think the last author we spoke to was Stephen Buoro, who wrote The Five Sorrowful Mysteries of Andy Africa, which was our June book. Um, and so we do that. We also have giveaways for our members once a month. We'll give
Oh,
away
y'all
a
do
book.
that?
Yeah,
Wait, I gotta put giveaways.
giveaways. Yeah,
You
yeah,
all have a giveaway, okay?
exactly. Yeah, we would do it on the Facebook chapter and the Goodreads chapter. And different, like, so if you were so getting back to that part where I said you could be in all chapters,
Mhm.
you could technically win a book. It wouldn't be the same book. It would be a different giveaway each chapter.
Mm,
So
okay.
yeah, so we have those type of things. One of the things we were doing recently is these member spotlights. So so for guys that are inside the group, we try to highlight one member every now and then to say, hey, this is here's one of our active members. These are the books that they like. And
Mhm.
that gets back to that part where we're talking about the stereotypes, where we tend to see members who are reading mystery, thriller,
Mhm.
self-help, that type of thing. So you get a variety of interests outside of just, the standard genres they think we're reading, basically.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And, that's a nice segue because, again, in part, we want folks to know more about how you all show up as an entity, right?
Mhm.
Have a full understanding how, to plug in because I know for me, I'm going to tell all my nieces, well, my nephews, male cousins and them to pull up because it's a good, way to be connected in community, right? Through books. I'm a firm, believer of that. Um, but when it comes to, and let me, before we actually switch segments to learn more about your reading lifestyle and a little bit more about you specifically, I want to make sure I am correct. It is just for men. So you can't, so there's no lane for us, right? I just want to be sure.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Although we do sometimes have joint book clubs with one of our sister book club groups.
Okay.
So, if they did want to see what we're about, we would point them to our sister book club group, and then maybe we'll have one of those joint meetings. So
I love that. And I didn't mean, look, I'm a firm believer, men and women, we need sometimes spaces that are exclusively kind of just ours, right? So we can
mhm,
talk how we want to talk, relate how we want to relate, and not necessarily have to hold bars. But then there are some situations, hey, there are some situations where we absolutely need to be, together, integrated in our conversations, right? So,
yes.
yeah, I'm not gonna crowd you. Look, I just want to make sure. But y'all heard it here from Raymond. If you are interested in joining Black Men Read Book Club, tell them the three ways one more time. How can they
So,
plug in?
so we have a Facebook chapter, Goodreads, and bookclubs.com. And it's all Black Men Read Book Club. You'll find it.
I love it. I love it. And you can always obviously tap into Instagram. That's how I found out about
Mhm.
y'all. So you can go there too to learn more. But speaking of, just again, preferences and things like that, we usually have a segment where we want to get to know a little bit more about like your reading lifestyle, how you like to show up as a reader, so folks can kind of get a glimpse of, who you are. Normally, I would ask a question around, your favorite genre, but I happened to notice on one of the posts that you also we share in the opinion of wildest books. Having read, you shared that you have read what was it, Black Buck
Uh-huh.
by
Yeah.
Matteo. And yeah, that book, I have to say, brother, it was wild. But I'm curious for you, what made it, a wild pick to read? Can you let people know?
Hmm. So it was wild just because it was just that storyline, right? So it's from what I remember is this guy he's working in Starbucks or some type of Starbucks type or coffee type company, and then he gets picked up and joins this startup venture as the only Black man there. And then they're hazing him. He's going through all of these hoops to try to make it big. But then at the same time, it's just like one of the questions we were asking ourselves in the book club: why are you putting yourself through this? Do you even want this experience or this job? Like, what is this benefiting you? And then, of course, we're making parallels to our own
Yeah.
lives and jobs and so forth like that. So that was how wild it was, and how we were like, I don't think I would have made it past first hazing incident that they did in the book. So,
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot going on. Did y'all make parallels between that book and a particular movie?
um, maybe you thinking about what what movie you thinking about? Because
Oh, as soon as
the
okay, I see the brother's face.
the
Who
one
was?
with Lakeith.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Sorry
yes,
to bother you. Sorry to bother
yes,
you. That's what.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if someone made a parallel, but yeah, I can see that.
You can see it a little bit because I know for me, it wasn't up until like 50 to 60% into the book, I was like, oh, okay, this is different. Not saying you can have similar,
Right.
storylines, but I was like, oh, this is taking definitely a turn. It's not quite the same.
Hmm.
But in the beginning, I kept seeing the movie. I kept seeing images of like, from the movie where he turned into like half horse or something. Like I didn't know how wild it would get.
Right.
And again, no spoilers, on the episode, but that book, it was good. It was a very
Yeah.
good read. I'm
I'm glad
surprised
it did.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
I'm glad it didn't go that far with that movie though. But yes.
So, 'cause I was about to tap out. I think I would have tapped out if
Right.
honestly if they got that far.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to latch on to like mystical, like futurist. Even though I'm stretching myself as
Yeah.
a reader to read more from those genres that are more, not based in, just based in more imagination. So
Right.
definitely a good read. Glad to know we had some similarities there. Is there anything else that you're reading or have read? Because often what I hear from folks who either want to read more or who are picking it back up as a hobby, what are some good reads? So if you had to say your top three or top five, however you want to share, what would that look like?
So these top reads for me or the top reads from the book club?
For you.
Okay, for me, probably the my first go-to has always been this book I read about 10 years ago now. How to Be Black by Baratunde Thurston,
Mm.
which I've read twice. Yeah, at least twice.
Mm.
Um, and it's a nonfiction humor, memoir, all of that kind of mixed together. And this was it's a little dated because like I said, it's about 10 years ago. So Obama was still president and Obama is referenced a lot throughout it. So that's kind of the dated part. But it was one of those books where I read the first chapter, I had a big laugh, and I said, I can't wait to read the rest of this. And so it's one of those books where, it's a guy who's kind of he grew up, I think he grew up in DC area. He's in all white spaces throughout his life, Ivy Leagues and stuff like that and what have you. And he's learning about what it really means to be Black and not what other people have said Blackness means to him, basically.
I love that. Well, first off, it's intriguing the title alone, but like the fact that it's set in a DC context, I think that's super dope because that's where we are. And I feel like from what you shared, although it's 10 years ago, it sounds like any book that can get you to like have a hearty laugh, that's a winner.
Yeah.
Because life is already so heavy, and it's just
Yeah.
nice to have a release, or escape, however you want to frame it.
Right.
So thank you. The name of the author one more time.
Baratunde Thurston.
Baratunde Thurston. Awesome. That's super dope. Okay, y'all heard it here. Check it out. And you would say that's your top favorite read of all time.
That's one of them. Yeah.
That's dope. Okay.
I'll throw one more in that I read this year. This is actually a memoir in verse by the book is called Walking Gentry Home, Gentry. The author is Alora Young. She's a young Black woman from, I think it's either West Virginia, Tennessee, or Kentucky. I'm getting them mixed up, but somewhere in that area. And as I said, memoir in verse about her mother's line. Mother's mother. She goes all the way back to Africa to current day. And like I said, she's in her 20s. She's in college. And I was just very impressed with how well this book was written for someone that was in her early 20s or is in her early 20s.
That is impressive, Lord. Because in my early 20s, I still struggled with grammar. I'm going to be honest, and I was an English major. The struggle was real.
Right.
So to churn out a book in general, I'm always applauding authors because that is no small feat. And it definitely, to your point, is no small feat to churn it out at such a young age. Often I feel like the best of writers have, a lot of lived experience. So they can pull from, a wide range of like timing, right? They're able to sequence things that really like synthesize life, at a certain age. And I feel like we don't really sometimes know how to do that or have the language to speak about the past, present, and future, which leads us almost to the book of the month y'all pick, because I feel like that sister also does a really good job at, synthesizing past, present and future, right, when it comes to her topic. But that's super dope to hear. I appreciate you for sharing some good reads with folks, because what we'll do is, share this episode. Make sure to share this content, straight from your mouth, to the folks' ears and eyes, in terms of what potentially are some other good reads. So thank you for that. When we think about this area, is there let us know too, any favorite book spot, book store, place to read that you want to shout out?
Sure, absolutely. So, our founder of the book club actually just opened up a bookstore recently. So, we are technically one of the official book clubs of this bookstore. So, the bookstore is Resist Booksellers, and
Okay.
they are based in Petersburg, Virginia. And so, Demetrius Frazier, who is the co-founder of Black Men Read Book Club, co-owns the bookstore with his wife down in Virginia, and so they are black-owned bookstore. Um, they've been in there. They technically think been open since last year, but they just opened their. They got a physical brick and mortar space this year. So
Wow. That's super dope. Well, shout out to the co-founders. That is beautiful. You said it's called the Resist Bookstore.
yes, resist booksellers.
Resist booksellers. Y'all heard it here. Resist booksellers. You gotta show up, show out in Petersburg, okay? So whether you're in that area or driving down further south, that sounds like a perfect spot to stop by, if you ask me, because Lord knows, I know for us driving from DC to North Carolina, I'm pretty sure we can choose to like route through Petersburg. So that'd be a nice little, way to get rest and then also support a black owned business. So super dope. Congratulations to them. That's super dope that y'all are the official book club for that bookstore. Because often that is something that readers look for, right? Again, a way to have community when they're patronizing various businesses. So yes. So yeah, without further ado, we want to make sure those of you who are still tuning in and we'll listen to this later. We are at segment 3. So what do we want to do at this time, y'all? We want to say books up, bad vibes down. Okay. This is the book of the month, y'all. We are so excited. We partnered with Black Men Read Book Club for this wonderful pick. How did you like? Who picked this book? I have to know because yeah, that's number one, and there's a reason why I'm. But who picked it? How did you?
Sure. So we do a mix of like sometimes the book club admins will pick a book, and then other times we'll do a poll and then the members pick. So this month specifically, we wanted to do a poll. We had gotten interest about doing a book on hip hop this month, and so we had 4 or 5 books that they could choose from. Chronicling Stankonia was one of them, and so of course it got the most votes. So that's the short answer for you.
Okay. Well, y'all have good taste. Clearly, all the men in the club, y'all have good taste collectively. It's a book, and the reason why I was asking, because even when I was looking up about information about the author, I didn't find that much information, and I wasn't even in terms of like where it was stocked. I feel like certain stores had it, others didn't. So I was just wondering how you knew about the title itself. I felt like for me reading this book alongside y'all, like I was like, wow, how kind of ironic, right? At this point in our lives, we're also moving back further down south, and to read a book about the impact of the South on hip hop and modern the black community or black identity, how much is pushed. What is considered contemporary Southernness, it made for a very interesting read. And a lot of the things she talked about, at least from my perspective, not that I forgot, but I don't think I ever took the time to do this deep of an analysis of like the impact of the South on hip hop. But it was super dope read. Like, yeah, what was your thoughts? Yeah, I'm curious. What did you think? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. So for me, I didn't listen to much rap growing up. And my remembrance and my introduction to Outkast was, of course, Hey Ya, right?
Ah,
I feel like that was the song
okay.
everybody heard at some point. But I thought this was a very interesting book because, exactly to the points that you just made. Um, I don't think I've ever, of course, prior to reading this book, most people just kind of steer East Coast, West Coast rap, and that's it. You know, you don't really hear anything else about Midwest, South, or whatnot. And so I was glad that she uh, pitched it in this way, and bringing to the forefront how influential Outkast and other groups and artists are in the South, and how they have this different flavor compared to the other regions. So
Yes. And so when will your book club read this in case people still want to you know, jump on the bandwagon to talk about the book?
yeah, so we have our discussion on the book this coming Sunday, July 30th.
Okay, so there's
And
still time.
yeah.
I love it. And what's so great about this book, y'all? I'm just going to show it to you. And those who are listening, I'll actually go to the page length. And not saying page length, whether it's longer than this or shorter than this, but it kind of matters, especially if you have a busy life. Sometimes a deterrent, I think, from picking up a book is like the length. It's
Right.
98 pages.
Right. It's real short, y'all. It's real short.
You can't get no better than that. Honestly, you can technically read this in a day. I mean, if you want it, and at least from my perspective, that's interesting to hear that you were sharing you didn't grow up listening to hip hop, because in contrast, I did, and I forgot about this, all the drama and somewhat to some
Mhm.
degree trauma that was laced within the lyrics of hip hop, right? We know it as a music of expression,
Right.
and definitely reflects the culture of what we've been going through, like a lot of Black music, right? A lot
Mhm.
of art in general, right, is a reflection of what's happening in our society. But it was super dope to see again her level of analysis. I found myself at times laughing at some of the lyrics. Like, did any parts of the story hit you from a point of nostalgia?
Yeah. So for me, it was the chat. There was a chapter, I forget, it was chapter 3, when they were making the connections with hip hop and its influence on movies, TV shows, and there was this mention about how there was a Kanye West song, "Black Skinheads,"
Hmm.
was used on the first episode of Underground, that TV show, which I watched. I don't remember that episode, but as I'm reading it, I could remember them using, that Southern hip hop music in, because I'm like, this is so strange. Why are you putting hip hop in these slave movies and TV shows? And then how she was able to analyze and say, well, this is what this does to it. And,
Hmm.
in terms of like sort of contemporizing it and making the connections to the day and all of that. So that was kind of nostalgic, because I would have never thought about that when I was watching the show previously, at the
Yeah,
time when I was watching it and whatnot.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And what's, I think, to your point, what's kind of interesting too about that is like we the power of music. Like, I felt like, and I don't again know all of Regina Bradley, the author's background, but
Mhm.
if this book read so poetically, I found myself personally going into some chapters like, I don't know that word. Let me go look it up real quick. Sis using a big word, like, and I say that with all like, I say it in a playful manner, but I'm serious with like, I love that she writes so eloquently, but also challenges us, I think, as readers in using words in contexts that we
Mhm.
don't necessarily think of, and it almost reads as someone like she could easily be like, what's the word I'm looking for, when you are like a musical head of like a sitcom herself. I forget the name of that. Like,
Yeah,
Michelle Dinicello is like she was the musical director for Queen Sugar. I forget the name of
of the person. Yeah, I
what's
don't
what
know.
I can't think of it. Jesus.
Yeah,
But she could do that
yeah.
easily. I could see her as a writer being someone that would be picked up by a sitcom or movie to help, guide the musical tone, right? Because music
Mm, mm,
illustrates.
Yeah.
scenes in such a beautiful way that you don't even realize, and it's making a statement, right? It's forming our opinions
Right.
of that historical moment or of that scene in general. It's like it really is giving body to a story, which is super dope. I am curious, from your position, is there a favorite line or a favorite phrase that you really, caught your eye?
I think so. Well, this is not necessarily a line from. Well, it's in the book, of course, but it's not like her line per se.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
of course, the line that everybody pretty much knows from Outkast about the South got something to say from the Source of Wars. Um, it's funny how many times I've seen people reference that quote in other books.
Hmm.
So like one of our books that we read last year, we read Imani Perry's South to America.
Hmm.
I think it was like in August, September last year. And then I read this book a couple years ago about it was a Black Christian. The book's called Reading While Black, but it was like a Black Christian biblical studies type book.
Hmm.
And they started the chapter out with that same scene.
The
The
South
source was,
has something to say.
yeah. And so I think for me, with that phrase and that quote from Andre 3000, was that she makes this argument that right that Outcast is the theoreticians, right? I think she said
Hmm. Hmm.
theoretician of
That's it.
hip
That's
hop.
it.
I felt like from these other books that I read and them using them as a part of their story or their pitch or whatnot, I kind
Hmm.
of feel like you could say they are not just the hip hop South, but just the South in general, because all of these other writers have been sort of saying, hey, the South got something to say in, religion,
Hmm.
in regional studies, when I try, in those kind of respects. So I think that's kind of one that I'm still kind of
Grappling with.
marinating. Yeah, grappling
Yeah.
with, marinating with.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No, definitely. And I mean, to your point, whether it be it Outcast, I mean, I absolutely love that, she chronicalizes Stankonia and does a good job of like breaking down words, lyrics. So
Mhm.
all the music heads, I think can fall in love with a text like this because sis is scholarly, but she's also very poignant,
Mhm.
in how she delivers, her narrative and how she interweaves her story in it, which is super dope. But whether you're talking about Outkast or you're talking about someone else from the South, musically, who or someone who's just left an impression, on the South, or is a great, I should say, better yet, a great representation of the South. You realize that they have made an impact to some degree on race, class, and identity.
Mhm.
I am curious, as a closing question, as it relates to the book, from your perspective, did this book, change your opinion of how Outkast or the South or Southern hip hop has impacted race, class, or identity?
Of course, I have to say yes, right? Because for me, it was one of the things I like to do, especially if I do read a lot of music books and I'm not familiar with the group that much. I
Mhm.
always go find the song, listen to it for myself,
Yeah.
right? And then,
Right.
of course, kind of compare, you know, what the author is saying in terms of what this song means to, um, you know, for the argument of the book and so forth, and kind of what my knowledge and experiences and so forth are with it. Um, so yeah, definitely, I agree with that.
Yes. Same here. Yeah, no. Hands down, same here. I feel like anybody who picks up this book will be perhaps not surprisingly, but they'll be delightfully excited about the things that they'll learn. I feel like this book is absolutely one of those ones that will maybe have you in some degree introspection, right? I found
Mhm.
myself taking a lot of notes. uh,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
a poet by heart and root, So I
Okay.
found myself, starting a couple poems, finishing some,
Okay.
as she reminds us of, the power of expression,
Mhm.
um, and how much so it can help lead our way of being, so to speak, be it
Right.
from a political standpoint, social standpoint. So that was super dope. Thank you again for being our reading buddy for the month. You feel me? I don't, again, the song, I always like to use that as a reference when I think about format, my buddy, my buddy. My buddy is wherever I go. That's how I want to think of this relationship. So I appreciate you. Please know that Lit Love Journey is always, a vehicle to help promote or share, talk about, send good vibes to anything you all are doing. Please know that we are there to be that vehicle. So tag us on anything you have coming up. We would love to be a vessel. Same thing with the bookstore, fan for life. I say all that to say. In closing, I definitely wanted to also see if there was anything you wanted to self promote. I know for us, there's a couple things coming up, so
Mhm.
feel free to, do a plug if you like.
Sure, sure. So for the book club, we got our next two books that we're reading after Chronicling Stankonia. We're going to read Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawab. And the sister book club that I mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
we are doing our, our joint book club with them on this book. Uh,
Okay.
and then in September, we're going to be reading Moonrise over New Jessup by Jamila Minix.
Oh, that cover is fire.
Yeah, yeah.
That dark, it looks like it's like a black is it black, the background with
Yeah,
the
it's black. And then,
that's gorgeous.
yeah.
And so what is the sister book club? How do we plug into that?
So the sister book club is Mocha Girls Read. They are based well, they have many chapters.
Mhm.
But I think their founding chapter is in California, Inglewood, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I love it. Yes. So you can tap in, y'all, to Sister Book Club, and all of the brothers tap into Black Men Read Book Club. Pull up, they want you there. Okay. Um, I feel like, it's important that we continuously promote what we're doing, especially in positive light, right? Because there's a lot of negativity in our world, but we always have to make sure to be that vessel, be that voice of positivity. To close out on our end, the Lit Love Journey, I just want to make sure folks know that the National Book Festival is actually coming up in DC on August 12th. So that is absolutely something fun to check out if you just want to meet some, dope authors, get some books. You can visit loc.gov/bookfest, and we'll make sure to share that out on our socials as well. Also, if you have little ones, I want to make sure that you know that for DMV Kids, the number 4 DMV Kids, all one word, they're an excellent resource when it comes to literary authors who write for our children, especially Black authors who write books for our kids. They are an excellent vessel to be informed about that. And then, of course, next month, I want to make sure y'all know, for the first time, but not the last time, we are participating in Black August with Lib readers. So definitely check us out. Check us out next month. We are going to drop that content actually tonight, if not tomorrow. Because we do have a list of various media list basically you can pull from, be it articles, one solid book we're going to pick from, and you can just dive in however you like, to really make sure that we understand what are some of the Black August principles and how can we integrate them into how we show up in life, right? So get excited about that. And again, be sure to tune in next month, always on the last Thursday, typically at 6 p.m. This month we had to push it up a little bit, and thank you, Raymond, again for being flexible about that. But yeah, tap in, tell your friends to tap in. And if you're reading a book or want to know about a good read, check out either one of our pages so that way you can, plug in. Thank you so much, Raymond. Again,
You,
have a beautiful remainder of the week.
you too.
Get your read on.
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right. Peace, peace.